psychology, and of course philosophy.
The good brother here for, your educational purposes, all right? All right, Dr. Umar. What specifically can proactive members of our community do to empower the African diaspora and bring about tangible positive change now and for our future generations?
I would say in 3 steps. Number 1, we have to raise the international Pan-Africanist consciousness. I think too many Africans are ignorant of the fact that we all need each other and that there will be no way to overthrow white supremacy without a collective international African front. So that's number 1, raise the consciousness. Number 2, we have to begin to make Pan-Africanism practical and pragmatic. And what I mean by that is we have to begin to lay the groundwork politically and economically of how we want that international economic system to look and how we want that international political system to look. Pan-Africanism has been around for quite a long time, but it has lacked the legs and the feet until Marcus Garvey came to us. And since Marcus Garvey has transitioned to the ancestors, we once again need someone else to give Pan-Africanism the arms and the feet, which is some of the work that I'm trying to do, but obviously I cannot do it alone. I think in addition to that, we have to educate our brothers and sisters about what racism is, what white supremacy is, because we don't understand it, and that white supremacy is hiding under its new clothing of multiculturalism, LBGTism, and feminism. We can't recognize it for what it is anymore. And the other thing I would say is we're going to have to eliminate the self-hate. We're going to have to tackle the inferiority complex that is at the root of self-hatred. We're going to have a Pan-African Renaissance similar to the Harlem Renaissance when we make it popular to be African, where we make it popular to be black. The Harlem Renaissance really helped sell black people to each other, and I think we're in need of another such renaissance at this time because we're losing the psychological war to reclaim our children. White supremacy has the advantage because it has the media, it has the news, okay, it has the entertainment industry, and I think we need to build our own Pan-African Intelligence Network, PAIN, so that we can distribute effective information about ourselves around the world.
Yes, and the Phoenix Publishing Paradigm is here to change that whole mindset of our African community, just like Dr. Umar is talking about. So we're right there on that page with you, Doctor. Another question we had, what is your take on the connection of Native American Indians in relation to the African diaspora and many melanated people's ancestors being here before the transatlantic slave trade and chattel slavery? For example, the Olmecs and the Pima Indians.
Well, number 1, we got to delineate between those original Africans who came here before the transatlantic slave trade versus the quote-unquote Native American that is here now. So if we're dealing with Africans in America before the transatlantic slave trade, I have no problem embracing and accepting them as long as they want to embrace and accept us. But what I'm finding is too many brothers and sisters are trying to disassociate themselves from their Africanity by clinging to this indigenous, aboriginal, Native American identity. It's true, we were here first, but how did we get here? We got here from Africa. There is no artifacts of human remains older than those in Africa. So we can deal with all the theory we want, talking about we came from Asia, which is a lie. We came from America, which is a lie. Wherever we are, we got there through Africa. So I don't have a problem embracing the branch, but we better embrace the root, and the root is Africa. Simply put, if you're still identifying and accepting your Africanity, I can accept you no matter what nationalistic identity you claim. Whether it's Aboriginal, whether it's Native American, I can respect that as long as you identify with the race. But if you're going to use some Native American Aboriginal identity as a way to disassociate from Africa, I don't want anything to do with you. We don't have any room for black folks to be trying to run away from who we are. We need to be running to who we are.
Right. Definitely feel you on that. Can you give a brief interpretation of Dr. Joy DeGrew's post-traumatic slave syndrome?
No, I can't give an interpretation of hers, but I can give an interpretation of mine.
Much better.
And my post-traumatic slavery disease formulation would posit 3 things: that African people are schizophrenic people, we're half white and we're half African at the same time. It's what W.E.B. Du Bois talked about in Souls of Black Folk with his double consciousness, 2 different ideals, 2 different identities striving within the same body. So at the root of the self-hatred is the split consciousness. Every black man has a black boy inside, every black woman has a white girl inside of them. And we have to crush that oppressor's consciousness within us in order for the African to be born. Number 2, all of us also suffer from political hallucinations and political delusions. Delusions are beliefs that people hold to be true despite evidence to the contrary. We live under a delusion that we're American. We live under a delusion that we've made progress. We live under a delusion that we can get white people to change their attitudes towards black folks. These are political delusions that are psychologically unhealthy for black folks. And then on the hallucination side, we hallucinate. We believe Barack Obama somehow was of benefit to black people, even though there's no evidence to that. We hallucinate about people claiming us to be part of the American fabric. We hallucinate about divine intervention to solve our problems. We have to stop hallucinating, and we have to stop being delusional. And the third piece of post-traumatic slavery disease, obviously, is the self-hatred. It's the Willie Lynch. It's the psychological residual of slavery that has black people wanting to be everything except who we are. If you look at us, we are engaged in a rat race with each other for how well we can copy the white man, how well we can be accepted by the white man, and how well we can outdo the white man being white. We're not trying to outdo the white man being African. We're trying to outdo the white man being white. The average black person wakes up with two motivations for his or her life. Number one, to hate against other black people, and number two, to assimilate and approximate the white man's reality.
That's powerful. And the United States public education system, no doubt, is failing Africans in America, especially the melanated males. What can we do now in anticipation for the Fredrick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy to educate and change our paradigm from a victim and Euro-Asian mentality to an empowered Afrocentric mindset?
Open our own schools. There's certain systems that you have to participate in because you're not allowed to have another one. You're not allowed to have your own Congress. You're not allowed to have your own lawmaking body on a national scale. You're not allowed to have your own criminal justice system. You're not allowed to have, certain things. But schools, you're allowed to run your own schools. So it makes absolutely no sense for black people not to operate their own schools when we spend $9 billion on weave and perm, $4 billion on alcohol and malt liquor, $2 billion on Air Jordan, $600 million on McDonald's. We buy 3 times the amount of Mercedes-Benzes as white folk, but white people have 3 times the amount of wealth as black people. It doesn't make any sense for us to be the richest population of Africans on the planet. The richest population of Africans on the planet, which are the African Americans, don't have a single self-sustaining, self-subsisting black community in this country. The richest group of Africans in the world don't have a single Africa town in these United States that they can say belongs to them. That is insane. Insane. Black people don't care about helping black people. They only care about being accepted by white people.
All right. What does the word Sankofa mean? And what is its relation to the ideology of white supremacy, the oppression of melanated peoples, and the African diaspora overcoming both of these paradigms?
Marcus Garvey said we have to look to our history, but only to those pieces of it with which we can make use in our present. Fredrick Douglass also said that we cannot romanticize about the past, but we can use it as a source of motivation for the present. I agree with both of those two great elders who I respectfully consider the greatest black leaders of the past 2 centuries. I believe in Sankofa, to go back and get those aspects of African cultural thought, African cultural behavior, and bring it into the present and use that. Use that which is relevant. I do not believe in romanticizing about the past. I do not believe in going back to the future each and every time we need to solve problems. I believe that we have the same consciousness and intelligence that our ancestors had, and that we have to solve problems that many of our ancestors were not yet able to solve. They've given us a lot of excellent examples of how to fight and combat white supremacy, and excellent examples of how we can build our own reality. But a lot of the work that has to be done today doesn't have a solution for it in the past. We have to create for it in the present. So take what we need, but let's not be afraid to come up with new solutions that are still rooted in the paradigm of African culture and consciousness, but that are relevant to our problems here and now. No escapism. Too much escapism in the black community. They're here and now.
All right. And switch it to a contemporary context. The election of Donald Trump has effectively turned United States society on its head. As a psychologist, with 6 degrees, a doctorate, and 3 masters, with both an internal and external perspective of the country's culture from traveling abroad, what are the pros and cons for the black community with Donald Trump as commander-in-chief? And what should our community be prepared for in the next 4 to 8 years with him in office?
Well, let's be clear. Donald Trump is going to finish us off with a program that Barack Obama started. Let's be very clear. Donald Trump is going to kick the field goal, but Barack Obama held up the football for him to kick it. Barack Obama was the first part of the equation. You cannot evaluate the Trump administration without evaluating the Obama administration. Barack Obama effectively kept black people distracted with their own participation long enough for America to take everything we fought for and give it to immigrants, women, and homosexuals. So Donald Trump's job is easy because Obama had already set the context for him. He doesn't have to take our agenda off the table. Obama took our agenda off the table. All Donald Trump has to do is keep our agenda off the table long enough for America to rid itself of black folks. That's what's going on. You will never see America ever again pay the type of attention to a black agenda that you saw under a Bill Clinton or that you saw under a Lyndon Baines Johnson on the Civil Rights Movement. We are no longer the priority minority. For every president, from George Washington all the way up to George Bush, black people were the priority minority. Thanks to a black president, ironically, Barack Obama, you will never again be the priority minority. Now you have to fight against the homosexuals, you have to fight against the immigrants, you have to fight against the female agenda. We let Barack Obama remove our priority minority status. Now you are the minority of the minorities. So you're going to get a total blackout on issues relevant to black people. We can get our priority minority status back in this country, but we're going to have to fight like hell. I'm not very optimistic about it though, because so many of us are still married to multiculturalism. You cannot be concerned about black people while you're still trying to help everybody else except black people.
All right. And to wrap it up, how can we start building an economic base and a financial entity central to the foundation of our community?
We need to connect with African economic systems, African banks, savings and loan institutions, African governments, and see how we can create branches of African banks in America. And if America doesn't allow that to happen, we need to build our own homegrown grassroots credit unions and banks. It only takes $250,000 to start a credit union. It only takes $1 million to start a bank. The only way you're going to grow black communities, the only way you're going to grow black institutions and black infrastructure is to finance them. The church can no longer be the center of the black community because it does nothing for us but prepare us to die. We need banks so we can prepare ourselves to live.
And there you have it, Africans. Man, this was a powerful interview, and I thank you, Dr. Umar,
Thank you, my brother,
for being here and for
Thank you.
telling everybody at the Phoenix Publishing Paradigm the steps that we need to take to empower our diaspora.
Shout out to the Phoenix Publishing Paradigm. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Dr. Umar Johnson, live in Maryland, Bowie State University. Support historically black colleges. Without them, we wouldn't have half of the black professional class. Today is the first day of 2017 Black History Month, day one. Support the Fredrick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. Also send your checks and money orders in the FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, PA 19132. If you like to work at the Academy, please send your resumes to FDMGresumes@gmail.com. We got the Unapologetically African Black College and Consciousness Tour coming up June 28th, July 12th for 11 through 17-year-old black boys and girls. We're leaving from Atlanta. Registration will be at DrUmarjohnson.com. Black parents, don't forget that we have the Tuesday morning Black Parent Teleconference and Support Line, 6 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday, 857-232-0158, 857-232-0158, access code 870-864#. We got the 2-week Africa trip coming up again, last week of July, first week in August, and of course the 60 to 90 day repatriation task force for those of you who are truly unapologetically African and have 60 to 90 days to commit to doing research on the continent so we can lay the groundwork for the building of the first repatriation community for brothers and sisters who want to come home from America, come home from Canada, come home from the Caribbean, come home from the UK. It's coming to you soon. Twitter and Instagram, follow me at Dr. Umar Johnson. Facebook, follow me at Dr. Umar Ifatunde. Phone number 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, or 8444 Dr. Umar. That's 8444 DRUMAR. It is Pan-Africanism, a parish, unify or die.
All power to the people. And all that critical information for Dr. Umar will be listed below. All right? Stay tuned.
All right.